Genocide. Noun. The systematic killing of substantial numbers of people on the basis of their ethnicity, religion, political beliefs, social status, or other particularities. Genocide. Verb. To commit genocide against, to eliminate, a group of people completely.
Gaza is a total disaster. If you can think of something bad that is happening in the world, it's happening in Gaza or to people from Gaza. The things that I saw there that really stood out or really impacted me and made me realize what's actually going on were a few. Number one was the malnutrition and starvation, which is deliberate. That's perfectly obvious. Even American senators are giving speeches saying that it's deliberate. The second thing was the targeting of children with gunfire. That I was not expecting to see. Actually, I knew how many children had been killed. I knew about the massive killing in general, but I just assumed it was all from bombings. But that doesn't explain children getting shot in the head. And definitely not every day. I mean, literally every day I was there, I saw a child shot in the head. That's not an accident. That's deliberate targeting of children for death. That's murder. That is not something that my government should be supporting. That the United States government should not be funding this. Benjamin Netanyahu famously said, if the Americans cut off arms, then we'll fight with our fingernails. Okay, good. You go do that. Go enjoy fighting with your fingernails. Leave my bombs and my guns and my money and my prestige and my government and my people out of it. That's what I would say.
I've seen a whole spectrum of injury patterns inflicted by Israel on Palestinian civilians in Gaza. The injury patterns I've seen most consistently are things like crush injuries as a result of Israeli airstrikes on homes. Between 60 to 70% of those injured and those who make it to the hospital are actually children. I can tell you that I have seen injuries that indicate deliberate targeting of children and deliberate targeting of civilians. So I've seen things like gunshot wounds to the abdomen of children, to the chest. I have documented evidence of gunshot wounds to the extremities of babies. Your priority is saving civilian lives and minimizing civilian casualties, then your responsibility as an American citizen is to advocate for an arms embargo against Israel. I think this is a no-brainer for the American political elite, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, Green Party, Libertarian, it does not matter. The right thing to do is to stop arming Israel.
As to the origin of the present Jews in Palestine, he states that those Jews derived from Eastern Europe, and many of the Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe, are not descendants of the Judeans or the lost tribes of Israel, but rather descendants of the Khazars. Who are they? They were a nation most people do not even know of. He writes, the so-called self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe in modern history cannot legitimately point to a single ancient ancestor who ever set even a foot on the soil of Palestine in the era of Bible history. Research also revealed that the so-called or self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe were never Semites, are not Semites now, nor can they ever be regarded as Semites at any future time by any stretch of the imagination. What secret, mysterious power has been able for countless generations to keep the origin and the history of the Khazars and the Khazar kingdom out of the history textbooks? Did you ever learn about it at school? I never learned about it. And out of classroom courses in history throughout the world, the origin and the history of Khazars and the Khazar kingdom are certainly incontestable historical facts. You have to do some cross-checking.
I work in the United States with states that have capital punishment, designing and constructing execution hardware.
Operated under a partial vacuum. Above my head in the ceiling is an exhaust port from which the chamber is normally evacuated when they're removing the gas. That fan in this particular chamber operates during the entire execution. It pulls the chamber down to a pressure which is below that of the outside atmosphere, ensuring that if anything does in fact leak, all leakage would be inward. Further, The system has a plumbing system, this gas chamber has a plumbing system which is under this floor in a small room, which runs over to an adjacent room on the other side, which is called the chemical room. The chemical room has the mixing container, which is connected directly to the gas generator underneath the chamber and underneath this seat. The acid is mixed and then poured into the piping system, which then carries it under the chamber. On command from the warden, the sodium cyanide briquettes or pellets, which are in a container under this chair, are dropped into the gas generator. The gas then comes up into the chamber and kills the person who's occupying the chamber. There is a system of valves on the plumbing system to prevent any gas from flowing back, plus the fact the plumbing system is filled with water, ensuring an additional water seal to prevent gas from backing up even if the valves do leak. Just outside the chamber is the main air intake. That is opened only after the execution. Prior to the execution, the air intake is filled with water to a certain level, again to prevent backflow of the gas through the intake, even though the intake is closed and sealed. Around the inside of the chamber are intake ports that are connected to the main intake on the outside of the gas chamber. All of the lighting in the chamber, and there are 3 lamps over my head, 1 over the door and 2 just behind the seats. All of this lighting is explosion proof. It has glass envelopes covering the bulbs and cork and rubber gaskets inside, so that the envelope is screwed against the fixture, preventing any gas or anything in the air outside from getting inside at the bulb and seeing any sparking. So as you can see from looking at this facility, it is engineered from a standpoint that if a leak occurs, it will be inward. The explosion capabilities of the gas are considered because all of the lighting is explosion proof. Now, when operating the system, there is a protocol that has to be rigidly followed and a checklist that the operators utilize while doing the execution. From the mixing of the chemicals to the inserting of the chemicals to the closing of the valves and sealing of the system.